All right, so this is going to be the last section in chapter 4. So we have added polynomials, subtracted and multiplied polynomials. In this section, we are going to talk about dividing polynomials. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is the easiest division is dividing by a monomial. Okay. So let's suppose we have, before we start with dividing by a monomial, I'm going to show you why we divide the way we do. And it goes back to adding fractions, actually. So let's suppose I have 4 over 9 plus, let's do 7 over 9, okay? When I add these together, what I do is I keep the denominator the same and I add the numerators, 4 plus 7, okay? Now, because these are equal to each other, that means I can go from this side to this side, or I can go from this side to that side. I can go in either direction because they're equal to each other. So if I had something like x over 9 plus 7 over 9, I could write that as x plus 7 over 9. Or if I started out with x plus 7 over 9, I could write that as x over 9 plus 7 over 9. Dividing by a monomial basically is doing this, okay? So this is where it comes from. This is why we do what we do, is because it's literally just adding fractions, going in the opposite direction of adding fractions. So that's what we have here. If I have a polynomial on the top and a monomial on the bottom, has to be a monomial, cannot have 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms, whatever. If I want to quote unquote divide, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate it into its own fraction, keeping the denominator the same. So for example, if I had 2 plus 5 over 3, I could write that as 2 over 3 plus 5 over 3. If I had x plus 3z over 2y, I could write it as x over 2y plus 3z over 2y. So basically, you're just separating the two fractions, making sure you keep the denominator the same. All right, so I have 12m to the 6th, 18m to the 5th. I'm just going to rewrite it. And we're dividing by 6m squared, okay? So what that means is I'm going to separate it into 1, 2, 3 different fractions. 12m to the 6th, 18m to the 5th, and 30m to the 4th. And I do have to simplify each fraction individually. So what I'm going to do is simplify the coefficient if possible. And we can. 6 goes into 12 twice. And then we're going to use the quotient rule to simplify with the m's. So remember, I can cancel out 2 pairs of m's, and I am left with 4 of them in the numerator. So 2m to the 4th. 6 goes into 18 3 times, and I can cancel out 2 pairs, and I'm left with 3 m's, or 3 m's being multiplied. And then this one, 5, and I've got m squared. So 5m squared. And there you go, dividing by a monomial. Another example, we have 50, m to the 4th. Separate each one. This only works if you have a monomial. One more time, it only works if you're dividing by a monomial. Plus 20. Okay, so 10 goes into 55 times. I can cancel out 3 pairs, and I'm left with just a single m. Goes in there 3 times. I can cancel out all 3 pairs of m's. Goes in there twice. Now this time I have more m's on the bottom than I do on the top, so I can cancel out one of the m's, but I have 2 left over on the bottom. So 5m minus, what do I have? 3 plus 2 over m squared. M squared stayed on the bottom. And now we're dividing by negative 3p cubed. So 8p to the 4th, negative 3p cubed, negative 3p cubed. Lots of negatives. Okay. Remember, dividing a negative by a negative makes it positive. Negative divided by negative makes it positive. So 3 does not go into 8, and we cannot simplify. So we've got our 8/3. And then I can cancel out 3, and I'm left with just a single p. You can either put it in the numerator or you can put it next to. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. So my p cubes will cancel, and I'm left with a 2. And 3 goes into 12 4 times, and I have p squared left over, 4p squared. And that would be your final answer. All right, so it's pretty straightforward to divide by a monomial. You just separate it into individual fractions and then simplify each fraction. So let's do it this time. We have 2 variables. Works exactly the same way. 45 x to the 4th y cubed, 15x squared y squared, 30, 15, 60, 15. All right. 15 goes into 45 3 times. I can cancel out 2 of my x's, left with 2 on top. I can cancel out 2 of my y's, and I'm left with 1 on top. So right now I've got 3x squared y. Goes in 2 times. I can cancel out 2 of them. I'm left with 1 on top. Cancel out both of them. So right now I have 2x. 15 goes into 64 times. Cancel out both x's. 1 of my y's, and I'm left with, a y in the denominator. Okay, so dividing by a monomial is pretty straightforward. Dividing by a polynomial, there are 2 ways to do it. You can use what's called long division for any problem, or you can use synthetic. Do you guys remember synthetic division? Synthetic division, sometimes called synthetic substitution, but this is for special cases only. Okay, so when we can do a problem with synthetic division, I will actually do it both ways. I'll do it long division and synthetic division, but most of the problems that we're going to do in this section, you have to use long division for every case. Special cases only. Okay, so most of you probably have not done long division by hand since, I don't know, 3rd or 4th grade. So this is a refresher on how you do long division with numbers. And the reason why I refresh how to do long division with numbers is because you actually do long division with polynomials It's the same method, but there are some tweaks because it is a polynomial as opposed to just numbers. So we would start this problem right here by asking ourselves, how many times does 27 go into 66? Another way of saying that is, what is 66 divided by 27? So I'm going to get my calculator. I'm going to take 66 and divide it by 27. And I get 2.4444. It's repeating. I only care about the 2. Okay, so I'm going to ignore the decimal. I only care about the 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to put it in the on top. Okay, just like that. Well, now I'm going to jump over to this problem. We start exactly the same way. Only this time we check to see how many times 2x goes into 8x cubed. Another way of saying that is, what is 8x cubed divided by 2x? Well, 2 goes into 8 4 times, cancel the x, and I'm left with x squared, so 4x squared. Okay, I'm going to put that on the top. Notice where I put it. See how I have an x squared here and an x squared here? I did this deliberately. I am not going to line it up with my x cubed. X squareds get lined up with x squareds. Just like I had to put this 2 in a special, I didn't put it over this 6. I put it over this 6, okay? Now, once we have a number here, we take this number and we multiply by 27. 2 times 27 gives me 54, which I'm going to put directly under there. Same thing over here. I'm going to take my 4x squared. This time I'm going to multiply the entire binomial. So 4x squared, and I'm going to multiply 2x plus 3, and I'm going to put it right down there, right underneath. So 4x squared times 2x gives me 8x cubed, and 4x squared times 3 gives me 12x squared. Okay. Now, back over here. 66, we subtract the 54, right? If we subtract the 54, we get 12. We're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to subtract. However, when you subtract a polynomial, remember I told you I want you to distribute that negative. Okay, so I want you to change both of these signs and then turn it into an addition problem. It makes it easier. Just trust me on this. So if I have 8x cubed and I subtract 8x cubed, that gives me 0. And if I have a negative 4x squared and a negative 12x squared that I add together, I get negative 16x squared. Okay, so what we did was exactly the same here as we did over here. What do we do next? We bring down the 9. Guess what? We're going to bring down the negative 14x. Once we get to this point, those steps that we just did, we are going to repeat over and over and over again until we have nothing more to bring down. Okay? So remember how we took 66 and divided by 27? Well, now we're going to take 129 and divide by 27. So 129 divided by 27 is 4 point something or other, so I'm going to put a 4 up here. I'm going to multiply 4 times 27 and get 108 and subtract and bring down. I'm going to do it over here. So 2x goes into, right? 2 goes into negative 16, negative 8 times, and my x will cancel, and I get 1x left over on the top. So negative 8x. Now I multiply, okay? Remember to distribute. So negative 8x times 2x, and then negative 8x times 3. And now we're going to subtract, but we don't subtract. We change the signs. And we have 10x and bring down the 15. And one more time. 27 goes into 216. So I'm going to take my 216 and divide it by 27 and multiply and subtract. Now I'm going to take 2x into 10x, and it goes in there 5 times. And now I'm going to multiply. Don't forget to distribute. And instead of subtracting, I'm going to change the signs and add. And here we have the answer for this one. Here we have the answer for this one. Okay. So to avoid making this video extra long, I am going to split it up into 2 different videos. So this right here is just basically what I showed you, only all typed up. And so I am going to pick the video up, the second video here, pick it up here.